I'd like to tell a story in honor of my grandfather. It's been 1 year since he passed away, so it's the first yahrzeit. His name was Aryeh Leib ben Yerachmiel, and his neshama, his whole soul, should have an Aliyah, an elevation. So the story goes that there's this Jew in Portugal, and his whole life he had been discriminated against, facing anti-Semitism, being picked on, beaten, whatever it is. And all he wanted to do was go to Israel, to get away from Portugal, to get away from the people, and to go with his family to Israel where he'd be safe. And one day he made it there, and he brought his whole family, and he established himself. He had a whole community. He went to the synagogue, and he went to a class one time, and the rabbi was teaching this class, talking about this special offering that the Jews used to do at the temple. They used to bring the bread. It was called showbread, and it'd stay fresh the whole week, and at the end of the week, they'd place new bread up there, and the old bread, the Kohanim would take it and eat it. And it was just a special offering. The rabbi continued and said, unfortunately, we no longer get to do this because the temple's been destroyed. So we don't have this offering anymore. And the Jew left this class thinking, this is terrible. Hashem is being deprived like an offering. And so he had an idea, and he went home, and he told his wife, I want to do something special. I want to do an offering to Hashem. I want you to make the most delicious challah according to the Jewish law and everything, with all your intention, and we're going to offer it to Hashem. And she said, okay. So she went to the mikveh, she went and she did everything as it should be, according to the finest degree, and she made 2 perfect loaves of bread. So she wrapped them up and gave them to her husband. Her husband went for the midday service. He got there early. And before the service, he went up to the ark where the Torah is held, and he opened it and he put the bread right underneath the Torah. Then he closed it and he just started praying with all his heart, saying, Hashem, please accept this offering, accept it on behalf of all the Jews as though it were the bread in the holy temple itself. Please accept it and be happy with us, and may this bring you joy. He's breaking down in tears. Then people started to show up, so they davened, and he went home afterwards. Now it's Friday evening, and just before the evening service, the shamash, the man that takes care of the shul, comes in to check to make sure everything is okay. So he goes in, sets up the tablecloths, puts the chairs in their place, and he goes to make sure the Torah is rolled to the right section. And he sees a little package underneath there. So he takes it out and he sees these 2 beautiful loaves of bread. He says, oh wow, thank God, Baruch Hashem, I needed bread tonight. So he takes them home and he eats them. And he's overjoyed. And now it's Friday evening, we're doing the evening service, and after the service everyone leaves except for this Jew from Portugal. And he goes up to the ark and he opens it in trepidation, thinking what will happen. And he sees the package has been taken. Hashem accepted his offering, and he's thrilled. He runs home to his wife to tell her the good news. He says, honey, you won't believe it. Hashem took it. Hashem took the offering. He's pleased with us. We have to do this every week. She's over the moon. She says, of course, what are you talking about? Every week, for months, they start making challah, and he goes exactly the same time, he's doing everything. And just like clockwork, the shamash, the man that takes care of the shul, is coming back, and he's also getting his package every week. He's thrilled. Everyone is so excited until one Shabbos. One time, he's doing everything as he usually does, but the rabbi came to shul early, came to the synagogue early to practice his speech for the next day. And this Jew from Portugal walks in and doesn't even notice the rabbi, walks up right to the ark, opens it, puts his bread there, and starts praying. And the rabbi's in shock. He doesn't know what he's witnessing. At first he's thinking, okay, this is weird. But then he starts to hear what this guy is saying, and he starts to grow angry. And eventually he just can't hold it, and he lashes out at him. He says, what are you doing? What, you think Hashem eats bread? That he's a human like us, that he needs water and food? That's ridiculous. You can't think that. And the more he's talking, the more he's shouting at this guy, the guy starts to cry. He starts to think that he's done a terrible sin, that all this time he thought he was doing something so good, but really it's the worst thing ever. And the rabbi continues saying, you don't understand, like Hashem would never eat this. It's probably someone else. It's probably the shamash is coming and cleaning it up. And just then the shamash walks in. He says, oh, here he is. Tell him you've been eating his bread. He says, oh, you're the one, Baruch Hashem, thank you so much. I've been getting the bread every week. He says, you see, now this Jew is broken, completely shattered. All these hopes and all these things that he thought were happening just was wrong. And at that moment, a student of the Arizal walks in, and he goes up to the rabbi. He says, "Rabbi, I'm coming here from my teacher, the Holy Arizal, and he wants me to tell you that you should go home. You should cherish your last moments with your family. You should say goodbye, because by the time your speech comes tomorrow, your soul will have already left your body." The rabbi is shocked. Immediately he runs to go see the Arizal. And the Arizal confirms every word. He says, "Look, I can't tell you much, but all I know is that it is decreed from on high that this Jew that you shouted at, that you broke his heart, he was really doing something precious. In fact, Hashem himself says that he has never had such a pleasure from the bread offering. It was as though he was having the bread from the holy temple itself when he received the offering from this Jew. So saying, you took that away." He says, "I'm sorry." And sure enough, that Shabbos, that rabbi passed away. So the story, I think, is connected because sometimes you do something, and whether you know if it's right or wrong, you feel connected to it and you feel like it's a good thing. And just because someone else comes and tells you it's not the right thing, you might know in your heart that it's the right thing. And my grandfather, my Zaida, he felt so strongly in his heart that he was a Jew. And he used to tell us stories all the time about all the fights he got in because people were saying bad things about women, that people were talking down on Jews. But he stood up and he fought and he showed us all the scars. And just like him, we too have this within us to stand up and fight for ourselves, to stand up for what's right, and to be honest with ourselves. So in his memory, we should all have a blessing to be honest with ourselves, to be true with ourselves, to return to who we really are inside. Thank you.